going to look at this exercise that involves VLOOKUP and COUNTIF and making a graph of the results. So it says generate 1,000 numbers between 0 and 1,000, and then we're going to consider them to be the wavelengths of light in nanometers, and then use a lookup table, VLOOKUP table, to determine what color of light it corresponds to. And then we're going to make a histogram. And okay. So first, generate the numbers. This can be interpreted in two ways. I can just say I'm going to get the numbers from 0 to 1,000 by starting at, say, 0 or going up to 1,000, which is actually 1,001 numbers. So that's one possibility. Let me start at 1 instead of, so I could say 1, 2, pick up the pattern, and go down to 1,000. Probably there, okay. So that's one way to generate the numbers, to generate 1,000 numbers, or it can also be interpreted as generate random numbers, use rand between. And I'm going to generate a random numbers between 1 and 1,000, and then I'll just happen to generate 1,000 of them. Either way that you might interpret this would sort of be fine by me. It was a little vague, frankly. Okay, so now we want to do the lookup part, and we have to keep in mind the three important things when we're making a VLOOKUP table. A range is represented by the lowest number in the range. So the blue there, we will represent by 450. Okay, that the ranges that we look up come first. So the numbers, the 450 will be in an earlier column than the word blue. And that the ranges should be in ascending order. So the low numbers, the ultraviolet, has to appear first. So I've got no good tricks for doing this. I am just going to type. So I use the lower number of the range. So I'm going to use 0 for ultraviolet. And the one thing about my use of rand between over here is that that is going to keep updating as random numbers in Excel do. They're volatile. So just don't be distracted by it. So ultraviolet was 0, violet was 380, 450 was the blue, 495 was the green, 570 was the yellow, 590 the orange, 620 the red, and 750 and higher the infrared. I think I got them. 380 was violet, 450 was blue, 495 green, 570 yellow, 590 orange, 620 red, and this is the infrared. Okay, so now I have my appropriate lookup table with the, I spelled yellow wrong. That'll drive me crazy later. Okay. So I have the proper lookup table. Again, the three things: a range is represented by the lower number of the range. The number you're going to look up comes in an earlier column, and the ranges are in ascending order. Okay, so I'm going to work with my random numbers but use them in the VLOOKUP table. So what am I going to look up? I'm going to look up this frequency. I'm going to look it up in my table. I'm going to come back and do $signs in a minute, but I'm going to get a column to the word. And I'm working with ranges, so I want approximate match. So I can come back and I'm going to put dollar signs in here. And the dollar signs will mean that when I copy down the formula, which I'm going to do next, the dollar signs won't change. Another approach that people will take is to name the table and then work with the name of the table. And so I'm used to dollar signs, so I have to look up the name thing, and I know the dollar sign thing because I use it more often. But so either approach is fine. I'm more used to using the dollar sign approach, so that's what I do. I'm going to copy this down. Okay, so here we see 737, which is in the red range. It'd have to be over 750 to be infrared. 908, that was infrared. Okay. Again, these are going to jump around because I use the random numbers. Now I'm going to count up how many of each things. And now what I put over here, I used the VLOOKUP. And so whatever I have here in column C came from column F. And therefore, my spellings, if I had accidentally a space or anything like that, it will be both in F and in C. And that will come up in what we're going to do next. I'm going to look at count. I'm going to use COUNTIF. I'm going to count in the range, count these C's, go down to 1,001. And I'm going to count it if it's equal to the ultraviolet. But I'm not going to put in the word ultraviolet. I'm going to put in F2, because if I spelled ultraviolet wrong, or if I had a space, it wouldn't matter because I'm consistent. What's over here comes from here, so it's spelled consistently. Whether it's incorrect or has an extra space, what have you, it's consistent. Now, what I want to do before I copy down is make sure that I don't lose information when I copy down. So what I don't want to change when I copy down is the range of data I'm choosing from. So that I put the dollar signs on the C's. I do want these names to change because I want to find the results for the different names. And just a quick check. If this all makes sense, then I should have 1,000 of them. I do. Okay. So now I'm ready to make my graph, which is going to be histogram, but I do not say histogram because in Excel, if you tell it to make a histogram, it wants to do the counting. Well, we've just done the counting. And so we are going to make a column graph and then just know that it is a histogram. Okay, so I highlight the numbers and I'm going to make a column graph. I'll just go with the first one. And I'm going to right-click on the data and select the data. And I'm going to edit. It says horizontal axis labels. So that's where I'm going to get the words. And I'm going to come over here and highlight, and my table's in the way. Let's see if that seems to be enough. I got all from ultraviolet to infrared. I might have gone too far, but I certainly went far enough. Okay. Let's say that this is, I'll just say light. This would be, it's a histogram. This will be some frequency or number of occurrences. Frequency is a little bit, has two interpretations here. You have the frequency of light and then the frequency of occurrence of the result. And so I probably wouldn't say frequency. I might say number of occurrences. If I wanted a y-axis label, maybe I will just leave it at that. But here is a histogram. Again, I did not say histogram when I made it from Excel because it would want to do the counting and I did the counting myself with the COUNTIF. But we made a column graph, and then in the column graph, if you right click and select the data, that you can choose to label the axes, and I labeled them with the words. Okay, that's what I wanted to show you. Thanks very much for your attention.